Welcome to the Change Room Podcast, a whiff of well-being with Minnie and Matt.
Well, on today's Change Room Podcast with Minnie and Matt, I've got to say I'm delighted to have 3 times world surfing champion Mick Fanning join us today. Thanks for coming along, Mick.
No worries. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, mate. Look, and I know you would be so excited about Minnie and I burrowing into your surfing prowess and your wave selection, but we're not going to go down that path today, mate. We're going to actually talk to you about how you incorporated fitness, well-being, and health into your preparation and your lifestyle, and what difference that made in your life and your performance. But I guess first of all, we'd like to start the show with a similar question for everyone, just so we don't freak you out too early. What's the one thing you've done today, mate, that's already elevated your health and well-being?
Got up, walked the dog, spent a couple of minutes on the spin bike, warming up the body, and then went for a surf. So, yeah.
Mate, and just have a skull of that smoothie as well, mate.
And my smoothie, yeah. I'm doing a gallbladder cleanse, so if I start freaking out, things could get
How
weird.
is the body, mate? How is the body going?
It's going pretty good, yeah. Yeah, I guess once I retired, I sort of got a little lazy, and as you do, and sort of skip a few training sessions here and there, and eat some bad food. But last year I snapped my ACL, so sort of just coming back from that and getting that back in line sort of just made me reassess my priorities in where my body's at and all that sort of stuff. So it is going good, though.
Well, as an extension of that point, Nick, and this is something that I've been able to observe in you for a long time, is that you made those decisions a long time ago as a person and as a performer to integrate cutting-edge approach in health and well-being into the way you were as a surfer, but also as a person. What was the impetus of that? Where did that come from? I'm
not sure. I guess I've always been pretty driven to try and do the best I possibly could, ever since I was a little kid. And then, I sort of took health and fitness and all that for granted when I was a kid. And, I sort of got on the world tour at a young age, and so everything sort of happened really fast in surfing. But then in 2004, when I snapped my hamstring, that was something that I had to stop. I had to, it was a good time to just reflect on what I had and where I was going, and it actually gave me time to look at things like diet and training my body right, and getting my mind right to go and compete against the world's best. So even though the injury was 6 months, and people say, "Oh, you're out of the water for 6 months," it was actually a really good silver lining where I got to look at as I said, body health and mind, and move forward on all that, and implement a really good plan for something I still use today.
Mick, you were one of probably the first guys to really elevate surfing to a professional level. I remember watching videos of you doing forecheck videos. But tell us about, you mentioned 2004, and even prior to that, I remember coming down and watching Pipeline in 2004. I don't know if you remember this, was after one of our kangaroo tours, and we went over to the North Shore with a guy named Paul Fisher, who's killing it as a DJ at the moment, a good friend of yours. Yeah. And we had a big touch football game on the North Shore because you were waiting for the Waves to restart the competition, and we were all on the beers, everyone was on the beers. Like, there was a bit of a blokey culture, even in rugby league at that point in time, before it went through a transition. But tell us about that transition, or before, and then you sort of led the way there into making it more professional.
Yeah, it got to a point where, I was always one of the guys that always say yes to a beer, or, I would never say no to a good time. It was always real fun, and that's what you do when you're young, you go and travel the world, and I'm going to the best places. And so, I sort of felt like I could wash beers off pretty quick, and then it was during that 2004 period where I was sitting on the couch and I was watching an old heat, and I thought in my head that I got absolutely flogged in this heat. I already knew I lost the heat, but as I watched it, I wasn't that far off to actually winning. And then I was thinking back, and I was like, I just wasn't sharp because I'd been on the beers 2 days before. And I had this sense of guilt where I was just like, oh, that just killed me. Something that I had a couple of sleepless nights because I just was so dirty on myself for doing that, even though it was a year prior or so. But and so I made the decision then and there. It was like, all right, no beers until you've done your work. And so, I sort of just, I still enjoyed a beer, but it was always at the end of an event. Wasn't during. I even leading up to an event, I'd have like anywhere between 10 days to a week off leading up to an event. So by the time I got to the end of the event, it was like 3 weeks off drinking, and I just felt so much better, and I just never had that guilt feeling again of like, oh God, why did I do that for?
Yeah.
So Mick, and Minnie mentioned check training, but when you're at the pinnacle of your sport, you certainly don't get any shortage of advice from people coming to you and telling you, oh, mate, try this, do this. And I'm sure you've got a heap of good advice. But one of the observations I've been able to make about you for a long period of time is your ability. I don't know whether you've got a built-in bullshit detector or how you do it, but your ability to take the advice that works for you. What's your secret there, or is it luck? Or I'd be interested to get your feedback there.
No, it's not luck. I think I like a lot of information. I don't mind people coming in and at me from all different angles and giving me stuff, but I'll try it. And, if I'll sort of look at it as like, oh, that worked amazing, so I'm going to start implementing that. And then other times be like, oh, did it work? It felt okay. I might want to try it again. And then if it just didn't work, I'll just scrap it. So, it's sort of, I sort of do all the sifting through behind the scenes, and that's sort of been something that I've done, for a long time. Because sometimes you can fall back on a lot of that information that you might not need then and there, but you can use it moving forward. If I remember that little piece, I might try that. But it is a lot of trial and error.
Mick, tell us about the journey when who'd you source first? You obviously in the functional movement training space you moved into, and I certainly did that to recover from my own injuries as well. Tell us about the first part of that journey and what people were thinking, and then how did you feel after starting that type of training?
Yeah. Well, first, it sort of, as I said, it all happened around 2004 where, I tore my hamstring off the bone and no one knew what to do, really. It was really uncommon injury at the time. There's been a few people that have done it now, but so I was just talking to my chiropractor, Chris Prosser, and he was like, oh, maybe we'll go and see this person. And he took me to Jan Carton, who was the leading check practitioner in Australia at that time. And she was like, she measured me all up. And she's like, yeah, I can work with this. And so I was working with Chris Prosser and Jan Carton at the time, and I was just bouncing off both of them, and they'll say this or do this. And so I did all my rehab with Jan, and then I just kept progressing. And as I came back, I felt like I was stronger. I felt like I moved better, and also just had more stamina as I surfed for longer, which was good. So yeah, that was something that it was just once again trial and error. But I felt so good that I just kept pushing it on and just learning about why you switch your body on and getting ready for an event was something that really progressed really well with me. And that's why I sort of, from then on, people like, as you were saying before, like they say that I was the guy that sort of changed the way that surfers get ready. That was something that I was just doing it just for me. I wasn't going out there to go, oh, I'm going to change the whole system. I was just like, I'm just doing what makes me better so I can beat the likes of Kelly Slater or Andy Irons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, you definitely had a huge impact there. Do you feel now, or even with youngsters, even in professional sport with young people, they don't really take on the account how lifestyle plays a huge part, or away from the sport plays a huge part in their preparation and obviously their performance. And was it for you when you got more experience or you had those injuries? For me, it was my injuries. Well, I had to change as well. It's hard trying to put that message on young guys when they're not injured or they think they're surfing well, and they can do so much more if they focus on those lifestyle factors like nutrition and sleep and their training a little bit more.
Yeah, it's sort of. I guess when I was a kid, I wasn't listening to anyone.
I was the same, yeah, exactly the same.
I was just going home. I'm just like, I'm having so much fun. It's working. Why change it? And I guess surfing at the time was pretty much a party goer's sport.
Yeah.
And then I sort of feel kids these days, like, there's so much more onto it. You go down the beach these days, maybe not in footy or other sports, but in surfing, you go down the beach. When I first started doing all this, I was like, I'm not stretching on the beach. I look like an idiot. And now you go down and everyone's waving their arms around and doing high leg kicks.
Yeah.
And kids are crazy. They're so onto it. They're like, oh, I'm going to do my warm up, get ready for my heat, put my music on, because that's what they're seeing on tour.
Yeah.
Where, they probably haven't got all the right tools in the right place, but there's so much more onto it than when I was a kid. I was just like, whatever. I had my head in the clouds most of the time. But, I feel like young surfer kids are so much more onto it than when we were together. And I don't know if that's more from the parents. I guess there's a lot more sort of soccer mums and dads in surfing now. But yeah, I think as a whole, I think surfing is definitely moving a lot better.
With like competing at the very, very high level, Mick, and obviously there's a lot of ups and downs, particularly in surfing, because we can talk about all the events that you won and all the heats that you won, but there's also a fair few that you didn't. And I guess one of the things there is being able to, this is not a physical preparation, this is a mental and emotional preparation. And what processes did you implement in your approach to surfing as far as that goes, keeping that stability?
Look, I had a pretty good routine for me. I sort of, there was obviously you want to go out and win everything. You want to go and just smash every person on the planet, but that's just not reality if you're really honest. And for me, it was more, if I can prepare myself, prepare my body and my mind and my equipment to the best as I possibly can, that way it gives me the ability to go out and try and do my best. And if I do my best out in water, win, lose or draw, I can go to sleep at night and be okay with that. I don't have those, I should have done this or I should have done that. Like Harper can do for more. But,
he agrees.
Yeah. All the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Yeah. I just wanted to eliminate all that. I think that's something that people know when they're doing their best. People know when they're cheating, their training, and that's when people start getting down on themselves if they're losing, because they know they're missing something, and you're the only one who can judge that. And that's why I was so stringent. I was like, I want to be able to go to bed at night and not have that mind ticking over. I should have, could have, would have.
Your preparation, you talk about the physical, and Matt just mentioned maybe the mental side of it. You were big on that as well. And obviously that plays a huge role in professional sport or peak performance. It's not just physical, it's mental as well, preparation, your breathing, the way you think. You dived into that a bit towards the back end of your career as well.
Yeah. I got to a point, I think I did check for 6 years with Jan. And I sort of just felt a little bit flat. I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. And, nothing on hers. It was more just me. I just wanted to add a little bit more. And also I was changing in my own self. And so I left Jan and went to another trainer in Baldwin, and I sat down with him at the start of it, and I said, look, I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again. I want to come into the gym. I don't want to know what we're doing. I just want to leave that on you. I just want to come in and I want to just power out whatever you've got, whatever you got planned. And Nam had a few different things. Obviously, most people can train you in a gym and stuff like that. But also he had the breath enhancement training, which was incredible for me. It sort of helped me just keep calm in those real heavy situations and learn to use my body properly, with the breathing side of it. So that was the training side of it. But then also too, on the other side, on the mental side, with all the breathing as well, I was with a guy called Michael Gervais, who's a leading sports psychologist, and he was a guy that really opened my mind to things like breathing, but also visualization and all that positive self-talk, and so with a combination of both of those, I felt like my levels were just going up and up and up.
And did that play a key part, Mick? Because obviously you, at a personal level as well as professional level, you had your fair share of adversity. I don't want to go into the detail of that, but one of the realities of being someone that is at the pinnacle of their sport, you don't do it. You don't get the opportunity to do it that privately. That you're under a lot of scrutiny. Were those things incorporated into that process of dealing with that as well?
A little bit, I guess a lot of it is when you've got people that you don't know coming at you and saying these things, you've got to have a really good sense of yourself of who am I? And, sports people are put under so much scrutiny. They're playing sport. They're not God. So it's sort of like, I feel like they get a bit of a, and a lot of the greatest sports people come from broken families, broken homes, and, they haven't had the best upbringing. So I don't know why they're the poster child for what we all look to, which is hard. But in saying that, it was just knowing who I was. And a lot of times I would just look in the mirror and, if something was bothering me, I would just look in the mirror and I'd question myself face to face in the mirror, because you can't run from that person in the mirror. That person is always with you. So those questions I'd always ask, is that real? Is that who I am? Or is that something that I believe in myself? And a lot of the time she's like, nah, you're tripping. And so you just forget it and just move on. But there's definitely I feel like you've even to this day, I still look in the mirror and just ask myself if I'm okay. I think that's a big thing. And a lot of the time, I walk away and I'm smiling. Yeah, I'm great. So
I think that's a good thing to do. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, "Are you okay?" You talked a little bit about the scrutiny and the pressure and the ups and downs out of the water. What about when you're in a big wave and it just all goes wrong? Tell us about the pressure and the scrutiny under there when it's like a washing machine.
Yeah, look, that's probably the actual surfing side of it's sort of easy. There are days where you're totally frightened. There are days where it's like, oh, I'm not ready for this. But then you've got to go back and go, okay, I've done the work. I've got the skills.
Yeah.
And I've just got to trust myself in these situations. And sometimes we fail. That's just it. And, in my world, it's, you get tumbled for, anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds underwater. You might hit a bit of reef or something like that. But you come back up, you bounce. It's sort of like you're in footy, you take a big hit and just like dust it off and keep moving. Yeah.
I'd rather definitely take a big hit than getting pummeled by a 12-foot wave. That's for sure.
I'll swap you.
So, Mick, you made a decision to come out of competitive surfing at a time where really you could have continued to do it. But what was the reason behind that?
There was a few reasons. I sort of got to a point where, I'd win events and I'd just look in the mirror and go, is this it? Like, I started losing my passion for competing. And then I sort of took half a year off in 2016 after a really hard year in 2015. And I came back in 2017 and to do a year just to see if I was really done or not. And I just found myself just not doing the work. I found myself just trying to create shortcuts. And deep down, I wasn't enjoying that. But I didn't have the passion to pull myself up and just go, no, you got to put it together, because I just lost that desire to compete. And so that was one of it. And then the other thing was I just wanted to just go and just to explore different places. I wanted to go and explore new adventures. And I felt like the tour would just keep taking me to the same spots, seeing the same people. And I just got really comfortable, and I just sat in that comfort zone for long enough. I wouldn't say too long, because I felt like I got out before. Some people just hate their sport, or some people just hate the system. I wasn't that guy. I still love the sport. I still love watching. I still love. I'm the biggest fan there is, but I just had to get out and go and just add a new chapter to my life.
And exploring that new chapter, Mick, and quenching that curiosity that you have, did that sort of negate the longing or the loss that you sometimes feel when you transition out of competition?
Yeah, look, I guess some people, speaking to friends that had sort of retired around the same time, they're like, oh, I've just got nothing to work towards, or just felt a little bit lost, where I was always traveling. I was still making films. I was still going and trying to create really good content. And so that was that's where my goalpost shifted to, rather than world titles. They just went, I want to create content for people to enjoy. And so I never felt that lost situation. I was like, I'm doing what I really want to do, and at this time. But I can understand people get really lost, and that camaraderie that you go into work, or you've got an end date each and every month where you're like, I'm going to test myself against this person and see what comes of it. But you don't have that once you retire from competition.
Yeah.
Speaking of just creating content, Nick, Now, the stuff in Alaska, mate. Now, you did it all smiling, and drinking cocktails on the ice. You off your head, mate. What was going on there? What was that really like?
Yeah.
It was incredible. That was a trip that I truly needed. We went there, and we'd been talking about going to Alaska for a long time, and it was the first time that I'd done a trip with Mason Ho, who's the other guy on the search with me, and it was so much fun. It was cold and it hurt, but it was just so much fun. We're like, as I was saying before, like experiencing new things. That was totally brand new to me. I didn't know where the hell we were going or what we were meant to do. And next thing, there we are sitting around a glacier and we're drinking Bloody Marys. It was incredible.
How did that all come about?
Me and a friend were just talking about we wanted to go dog sledding. And so I put it to Rip Curl and they're like, yeah, we'll go to Alaska. Let's go do it. And so we went and did Alaska, and then we didn't go dog sledding. But it's still on my bucket list.
Yeah. Oh, that's outstanding. So talk to us about you just going back a little bit about your diet now, or even when you got into the forecheck stuff and you trained with Nam Baldwin. Did you change much of your diet, and what does it look like today?
I did. I was that kid who, I guess didn't have a lot of money growing up. So once I got money, I was going to Macca's. I was eating Hungry Jacks. I was just eating crap food, to be honest. Big breakfasts, and I'll just burn it off so quick just because I was surfing so much. And then I started learning what foods made me feel like. I sort of started a food diary, and Mackey's made me feel like this shit. And then and now I have got a pretty consistent. Like, I'm not stringent on like, I've got to eat this or I've got to eat that. It's just I just try and eat clean most of the time. It's not too much of a chore. It's like, you make sure you got your veggies, your salads, or clean meats, and then every now and then you have a cheat day. But I'm not crazy stringent, but I know what foods give me the most energy for the next day. And that's something that I'd implement. Knowing that I'd compete the next day, I'd make sure that I ate the right things so I had premium energy come comp day.
And how much are you surfing these days?
Surfing a fair bit. I'm still surfing a lot. I'm probably I'm only a little bit over where I was when I was competing in weight.
Nice.
So I did get fat there for a while when I had a bad knee. I was sort of just because I couldn't do anything, but trimmed it all back now, and it's all going good. I surfed the other day. One day I surfed for 7 hours straight. I was just so pumped on the waves that I just kept surfing and
7 hours straight.
Yeah.
You talked about an ACL earlier. How was that recovery? What happened there, and how is it today?
Look, I think the ACL is probably the most boring injury I've ever had. You just can't do anything. It's just boring. Everything's just like the tiniest little baby steps. I think babies probably ran faster than what I did. But the ACL is feeling really good. I had a great team around me helping me out. I went back to doing check work again with a friend of mine, Taylor Cecil, and did all my rehab there, and that was really good, and also with Chris Prosser as well. But that was a big thing too, like because the injury would swell up so much, you couldn't go and get on the beers, or you couldn't go and eat crap food because you'd feel it instantly. And so try to be really healthy through that stage. But I guess also too, I felt like I had the tools. Like back in 2004, I didn't have all the tools in my mind to get through the hard times. There were some dark days where I was getting really depressed, or I just didn't want to go outside. Where the ACL, I knew what I was going to face, and so I sort of turned that into the rehab was like my job. I just did it strict, just religiously, just doing it as much as I possibly could because I wanted to get back to surfing. But and then also too, when those dark doubts start coming into my mind, I was like, hang on. And I'd speak to someone. I would ask someone, is this real, or what about this? And as soon as I verbalized it, I was like, I'm just being stupid. It's just, so I feel like I had a lot better tools in my mind to deal with the injuries and the dark days.
Do you have any key people you go to, Mick, in those situations where you get that advice?
A lot of just family and friends. I guess my partner Bree, she probably copped the most of it because we were just together most of the time. But yeah, and then other times just talking to friends and just and also the people that I was working with. Like if I had a doubt or something, I wasn't scared to ring and ask. Where say 15 years ago, I was scared to ask. I was like, oh, God, I don't want to tell them I did this or that because I felt like I was failing. But, yeah, now I sort of am like, I'm okay to ask. I'm okay to be vulnerable, and I'm okay to, just get on with it and verbalise that I haven't got all the answers.
You're talking about vulnerability and new experiences. In 3 weeks, you've got one heading your way, mate. You and Bree are going to become parents. Do you need a hand at all?
I've got two, mate.
Minnie's here, not from me.
Yeah,
mate.
I was going to say, I'll probably get Minnie's help, but not yours, mate.
I've got feelings, mate.
How's it all tracking, mate? That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited, and I know you guys have been through it. So, I'll probably be ringing you for advice at some stage. And, look, it's pretty cool. Like, even just speaking to my friends that have kids already, it's I was chatting to Parker just the other week, and I just rang him just because I was like, hey, what about this? He's like, yes, your first dad question, so sick.
Oh, too funny.
So what sort of, are you going to be a strict dad, you reckon, or laid back? How are you going to be?
Oh, I think I'll just be honest. If it's been a shit, I'll call it a shit. And if it's been really good, I'll call it good.
That's it.
Yeah.
Mate,
that's how my parents were with me.
Yeah. Mate, look, I've known you since 2003, and I think one of the consistent things with you, Mick, that I've always observed as well is that fun is a significant part of your life. It's something that you've been able to include in everything you do, even when you're serious. Is that just your personality, or something that you've consciously gone about? I'm sure that, because it does impact your well-being.
Yeah, look, I think people would sort of just dwell on the bad things too much, and I think if you can make a joke about the bad things, then they're not so bad, I just try and be honest. It is what it is. If something's shit, call it shit. It doesn't mean you have to cry over it. It's just, that's what it is, but. Yeah, I feel like people try and dwell on the bad things. I try and dwell on the good things. We've got so much amazing things to live for. And also too, like I had this thing where I still remember it, watching these kids. I think I was in Africa and watching these kids, and they didn't even have. They were just kicking a plastic soft drink bottle, and they were having so much fun. They didn't even have shoes. The had rags for clothes, and I don't even know how much food they had that night. Just these poor kids, and they just were having so much fun. And it just made me think. I was like, you don't need all these new things or whatever. And my life is pretty bloody amazing compared to those kids. So why should I be sad? Like, they're having fun. Why can't I have fun? And that's the way I sort of look at it.
It's certainly an amazing way to be. Have you found through this period, obviously COVID, you haven't been able to travel? Have you found it being just back at home? Maybe you've enjoyed it. What's it been like?
Yeah, look, selfishly, it's been amazing. Yeah, a lot of people you see a lot of people, 2020 is the worst year ever and this and that. And for me personally, it's been incredible. I've been able to be home. I've been able to go through every step of watching Brie grow with the belly. But also too, just finding a routine that I've never had in my life. Having a routine at home is just wild. It's been fun. Like, I know on a Tuesday and a Thursday at 3 p.m. I have training. Nothing else comes in that way. It's awesome. So, like, it's been a really big change, but it's been great.
That's so good to hear. I mean, the other thing, again, there's a part of you that I haven't seen for a while. Is he still around, Eugene? Does he show up occasionally?
Oh, I've tried to kill him.
Can't kill him.
Yeah, I know. No,
has he come for you?
Yeah, look, I tried to morph him into someone else a little bit. He just was too naughty. So I've got this another alter ego called McMuffin now.
Really?
It's a little bit bad, but still a little bit sweet like a muffin. So a bit more fun.
Oh, that's hilarious. How have the Waves been back at home during this period, mate?
Mate, we've had an incredible year. The Waves have been so awesome. But it's every time you sort of like, oh, is that it? And then another swell comes and another swell comes. It's been great. I don't think I've surfed this much. It's the most I've surfed since I've been off tour for sure. But the winter that we've had is probably one of the best winters I've ever seen.
What are your projects now? Were you doing any filming in your back home ground, or what's happening for you?
We just finished a little Rip Curl film just like a couple of weeks ago, but a lot of it I've just been doing podcast after podcast after podcast. I don't know why.
Are you bored of it, mate? Is that what you're trying to say? Wind it up?
No,
just come out and say it.
I've been so busy, like just working. I'm sort of hoping that COVID will finish, so I don't have to work so much, and I can just keep surfing.
Oh, too funny. Well, mate, we always like to finish off with the same question. What are the 2 or 3 key things that you implement in your daily life to be healthier and happier?
It's probably a lot of it's probably all mental. As I said earlier, just looking in the mirror and asking myself if I'm okay.
That's a good one, isn't it? It's just so simple, but that's an excellent one.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't have the courage and strength to deal with the things right then and there, but just know that you can go back to it. That's always been something for me, but just ask myself that. What else have I been doing? Just knowing that my life is pretty good. I always feel like there's someone always worse off than me, so I can't whinge and complain about anything.
Yeah.
I've got to get on with it. And I'd consider myself extremely lucky from where I live to what I have. And then thirdly, I don't know, just have fun. just have fun, go and enjoy this beautiful
Important.
world that we have.
Yeah.
Even though we are stuck at home at the moment, shit, I haven't done housework in 5 years, probably.
What have you been getting into? Bit of mopping, bit of sweeping?
Oh yeah, I'm a great mopper. No, I actually, what did I do? I rearranged a wardrobe and
Oh, well done.
putty it up and paint it. And I
Nice.
painted cots and dresses, and yeah, I'm a real good painter.
Awesome. Well, mate, Mick, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, having you on the podcast. Congratulations on your upcoming little one, mate. I hope all goes well there, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, lads. Thanks for having
listening
me.
to the
and,
Change Room
all the best.
podcast, A Whiff of Wellbeing with Minnie and Matt. For more information about the Change Room, please head to thechangeroom.info.